Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous, super smart, wonderful, friendly, value-loving wife and co-host, Michelle.
Thank you. Who doesn't love a value, right?
Right.
Good value, yes.
No, we're going to talk a little bit about value today.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
So good to have you with us. We are recording this episode back on Sunday again, Sunday, November 15th, 2020. I hope everybody survived Friday the 13th. Okay,
Yes.
we got through that. Thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventurespodcast.com. And while you're there,
Please sign up for our newsletter.
yes, please sign up for the newsletter. It's just a way to kind of stay more in the Hyperion Adventures world, have details about what we have coming up, what we're doing currently, what we've done in the past. We put out the Disney Dishes blog recipe of the week, and I've got a cool one for you this week coming out that if you follow us on social media, you probably already saw it, but we'll also have there on the newsletter for you.
Right. And we don't do anything with your email other than send you that newsletter. And by the way, speaking of Disney Dishes, I was looking at some of the offerings for the holidays over at Epcot, and I have one that I want you to
You want me to make one? I can't wait to hear which one that one is. So we'll see, and we'll see if it ends up being a future Disney dish on the Disney Dishes blog. So I did mention that you can follow us on social media. Please do. We like to have a lot of fun out there with a lot of other Disney content creators and just good Disney friends out there on social media. And if you want to find us there, we're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We do have a YouTube channel. Hopefully you're checking out some of these episodes on YouTube because we add a lot of pictures and a lot of extra stuff for you when you check these out. And you have the advantage of getting to watch my hair continue to grow. It hasn't been cut since late June now, so it's growing every week, and I don't know when I'm going to get it cut because we just had some other things go down here in California that I don't know when I'll have the ability, but it's kind of a fun game to see if you can judge how much longer it's gotten since the last episode.
Do a comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. It looks like you're going for a solid Obi-Wan look.
Yeah. This Obi-Wan from Attack of the Clones, the full mullet Obi-Wan, for sure. Anyway, please check us out on our YouTube. If you want to find us there, just do a search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast. When we come up, hit subscribe and you'll know whenever we have a new video. And you can also always email us if you want to contact us for any reason at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventurespodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. We love hearing from you. We love the interaction, especially coming from the newsletter. Thank you to people who have written in this week. That's been exciting. And we always love hearing from you. If you have any questions about any of our information that we give in the episodes or anything that you'd like us to expand on more, please feel free to let us know.
Right. Speaking of that, we did get a couple of responses that were a little late from last week's Disney Plus at 1 year episode. A couple people, Nate and Serena's from the DVC duo sent us in something that actually, if we had normally recorded like we usually do on Sundays, it would have made the episode, but they're just slightly late since we recorded a day earlier than we normally do. But they did have some input on some of the stuff that they have enjoyed from year one of Disney Plus and what they're looking forward to in year two as well. And so here's what they wrote into us. They said, what an amazing first year of Disney Plus. There were so many great shows and classics that have us coming back for more. Here's our attempt at a top, but in true Hyperion podcast tradition, we may slip into an A or B here and there. So I understand that. Number 5 for them was Once Upon a Snowman. They say it's so adorable. Plus, hashtag Real Men Love Frozen. Agreed.
It is true.
Number 4 was Onward. Love that. Yes. 3A was Disney Gallery, Star Wars, The Mandalorian. They say we love anything that goes behind the scenes of making movies and TV shows. 3B was Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom. Also a great show. 2 was hashtag Real Men Love Frozen. Frozen 2. And finally, 1A was The Imagineering Story. They say we find some new something new every time we watch it. 1B is The Mandalorian, enough said. And 1C was Hamilton. They say all it took was one viewing to get us addicted to it.
Right?
Yeah. So when they also went on to say what they're looking forward to in the future, we're excited for the following shows and movies. Soul, we're both excited about that. WandaVision, very excited about that. Yep, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, another Marvel show that's coming next year. The Mandalorian Season 2, which we're right in the midst of, and boy, Chapter 11. No spoilers here, but wow, what an episode. That was really cool.
Yeah, I think the second season has really come out so strong and like, wow.
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat. What do you think?
As the child chimes in. Yes. Finally, they say they're also looking forward to Christmas movies, especially Prep and Landing.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Nate and Serena, the DVC Duo. Please check them out. Check out their blog, dvcduo.com, and sign up for their newsletter because they have a cool newsletter too.
Definitely. It's a fun newsletter and very informative too.
You know, they usually have a cocktail that they're making every week that I'm like, ooh, those look really good. I want to make them. Oh, sorry. The child is just doing the magic hand thing there. So hello, everybody. We also have one more input from Instagram from the Cretans Guild podcast. You can find them at Cretans Guild. They said, as far as things that they enjoyed very much from year one of Disney Plus, The Right Stuff on Nat Geo, classic shorts like Goofy Does series are always great.
Awesome.
He said, gave me a chance to see Hamilton and the best show on TV right now, The Mandalorian. Agreed so much. So thanks, guys, for chiming in with all that stuff and looking back. And again, we still, if you want to chime in more about Disney Plus, we'll share it on a future show as well.
Yes, absolutely. This week was an interesting week because Disney had one of their important calls and information release, and Disney Plus was one of the topics because it is 1 year from when they first started, and they had an outstanding quarter. They're up to 73 million subscribers, which is phenomenal, especially within one year.
Yeah.
And, in fact, some of the analysts have said that, like looking at Netflix, it took them years to get to that. Now, Netflix, I think, is at 195 million. But if you take Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN, they're at 100 million subscribers. So that was a very positive report for Disney. They also reported that they had less losses than predicted for the quarter. So that's always a good thing as well, to see the company, even though it is losing a lot of money, it's, they did have a little bit of better projection with the parks than what they expected.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it last week when we were talking all about Disney Plus. Like, thank goodness Disney Plus came out this year for us in general, just because we have been at home so much more often, and streaming so much more stuff. And yeah, of course, we would have watched stuff on Netflix or Hulu or, we also have Prime Video or whatever. We would have watched a lot of that stuff. But we're Disney fans, and so, of course, we love Disney Plus. And yes, also, thank goodness for Disney, the Disney company, that they had, kicked it off by this time. If they had it like 2 years in the future or whatever, I don't know what would have happened. They would have been, there would have been even more extreme losses by the company. So thank goodness this all, in a weird way, in an unfortunate way, worked out in that regard.
Right.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing that the company, I to me personally thought favorable, and even though we're shareholders, we're not going to get the money, they are holding back paying off dividends in the first part of the year to use some of that money to really do their work that they're going to direct release. And so I think they really have the pulse of what people want, and it's exciting.
Right, it is. And so hopefully we can get through these crazy times we're in now. The parks will begin to finally reopen. Some have, and then some closed down again. Disneyland will hopefully reopen sometime in the somewhat near future, sometime in the century, yes. But in the meantime, we'll just, try and make the best of it, and, Disney will make the best of it as well. And hopefully the theaters too, because that's another huge thing that they're not getting these movies into theaters. That is a big that's a big dent in the money they normally make. So
Yes.
hopefully we can get back to that as well. Also this week we had a new category for you for the Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame that I sent out originally on the newsletter and then put it out there on Twitter and other social media channels as well. And this week's, we will continue to tabulate nominations for another week. The category, which is another classic category, it's the last one that we're going to be doing before we get to our final ballot. It is Best Live Action Character. So we'd love to hear your 5-ish favorite live action characters. They can be from anything under the Disney umbrella. That includes Star Wars, Marvel, Indiana Jones, whatever it is. Last year in our inaugural class, Indiana Jones, Mary Poppins, and Captain Jack Sparrow made it into the Hall of Fame. So you don't need to worry about nominating them. They are already in there. We're just trying to see who will join them in year 2 of the Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame.
Very cool. So please let us know your thoughts.
Yes. And finally, we added some other cool things. We love reviews around here. Most podcasts do. It really is helpful for us to learn and know how we're doing and how the show can be that much better. But it also helps in other ways where people can find shows when they're looking for things with similar interests. If you're searching for a Disney podcast, the more you get ratings, the more you get reviews. There's an algorithm, something that I don't understand, but there's something out there that helps people find those shows. And we did just happen to get another 5-star review this week.
How exciting.
Yeah. So the title of it was Excellent with 3 exclamation points, which I love the exclamation points. Thank you. It went on to say, Tom and Michelle are such a cute couple and can definitely be defined as Disney couple goals. They put in lots of effort to produce a quality show. From their expansive knowledge of the Disney parks, movies, cruise line, and musicals, they leave no stone unturned. This show is truly a joy to listen to and is sure to get you hooked after the first listen. 10 of 10. And that was by Jungle Boy 499.
Wow.
Thank you, Jungle Boy 499, whoever you are.
Awesome. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Appreciate it. Please hit us up and let us know who you are. We'd love
Yeah.
to, thank you in person. Well, not in person, but thank you maybe in person someday.
Right.
But definitely thank you through an email or whatever. We'd love to know who you are. But thank you very much for the review. And
We're
reviews
so
are
touched.
always appreciated. So.
Yes.
As for this week's episode, we have lots of stuff for you this week, including we have a ton of details about Disney's next sing-along special.
Yeah.
We'll pass along a lot of that to you. And we now know when we'll be diving back into the Marvel Universe on Disney+. But let's get to our main topic of the week. So, this week's topic we're diving into. We've looked at some of the lounges, some of the bars. We've looked at the moderate resorts. This week we're
Luxury.
We've looked in Disney luxury in general,
right.
not just the resorts or everything. But this week we're going to delve into some of the more quote unquote bare bones type of resorts that reside within the Walt Disney World property. And I think I mistitled them last week. I called them like the budget resorts last week or whatever, which is truly kind of what they are. But Disney calls them the Disney's value resorts. So we're going to explore those a little bit. And of course, we're going to focus on Michelle's usual awesome research and experience staying at these resorts to kind of share some details about them if you've never stayed there, and maybe some ways that you can get more out of them. So yes, it's our how to get the most out of Disney's Value Resorts episode.
Well, thank you. And hopefully, people will find information helpful and help make decisions. If you've never, let me just start off with, if you've never stayed in one of the value resorts, and I'll call them out in a second, I don't want people to be afraid to, because we've done it. I've done it probably a little bit more often, and have a great experience. So it's not something to be shy of. And when you compare them to even some of the resorts in the Orlando area, they do hold up in what they offer you in addition. So
right. I mean, can you find some more comparable or even more roomy resorts outside of the Disney bubble itself? Sure, probably can. You can probably find a little bit better value. But if you want all the stuff that comes along with an actual Walt Disney World resort stay, these for bang for the buck, could be your best options. The first time I ever went to Walt Disney World, meeting up with Michelle, she invited me out. We went to the Walt Disney World Resort. She was still living in Florida at the time. We stayed at All-Star Sports, so I do have a fond memory of it. Not that long ago, we stayed at All-Star Movies just after the refurbishment.
Right.
I do have a soft spot in my heart for the value resorts.
Right.
I do think they're pretty cool. So let's get to Michelle's awesome research about it, because I'm sure she has some great stuff that we're going to go through about these value resorts.
Well, let's start by just identifying which ones Disney does classify as their value resorts. To start off with, we have Pop Century Resort, Art of Animation, and then the All-Stars. So you have All-Star Movies, All-Star Sports, and All-Star Music. I included in this category the campsites as well, because it is a value. It's funny because Disney doesn't classify that in their listing, except in one of their areas with FAQs. I did notice that they were listed. So, but I felt like, considering the topic that we're presenting today is, maybe really helping to save some money through the type of resort that you're staying at, why not include them as well?
Sure.
So now Pop Century and Art of Animation are open. Art of Animation just opened this month. All-Star Movies is opening in February of 2021. They are taking reservations already for that. And we don't have dates right now for All-Star Sports or Music.
Right. Because obviously we don't know when you're listening to this episode, but the current conditions as they are, some resorts are slow to reopen, but they're gradually getting back up to speed out there.
Exactly. And the campsites are open as well.
Very good.
So going back to what we were first saying, some of the benefits, obviously over some of the other resorts, value resort will allow you to save some money, and different times of year and with different offers. And there are offers out there already for 2021. You can save, a fair amount of money compared to some of the other resorts. Generally speaking, these are the most kid friendly in terms of their decor and color schemes, etc.
They're really fun. You can argue that they're the most fun resorts that you're going to run into out there. I mean, because obviously the deluxe resorts, can feel rather stuffy. I mean, look at the Grand Floridian. Tell me you don't walk in there and, don't feel a little hoity-toity in there. But even some of the moderate resorts can feel a little bit that way. But these are wide open. There's kids running around. There's grounds and everything. I'm sure you'll go over a lot of this, but it's definitely, I would consider them the most fun resorts.
Right, exactly. And the food, it's food court, generally speaking. So, and again, kind of going to that being kid-friendly versus maybe a table service restaurant or something like that. So, and again, their prices, if you look at them, you're going to see prices outside, as you said, the bubble, that may be better priced or larger facilities for what you're paying. But here are the perks, because they have the same perks of anybody staying at the luxury resort. So you get the free airport transportation to and from. And that can really add up to a lot of money if you were going to be staying off property of either car rental or shuttle services, etc.
Plus parking. On top of that as well. Yeah.
Right. And then you obviously get the complimentary transportation to and from the park. And again, that's a service that you could get outside as well, maybe, but you might have less frequent rounds, and you may have to pay for it. Right. So, Disney themed pools.
Yes.
I mean, those are awesome. And again, in these resorts, in these value resorts, there's a lot more of the iconic things all around to really help you feel immersed when you're at the pool.
Yeah, if you want, your iconic Disney scenes and characters and everything, and small and large size throughout there. If you want your kids to run up and see Donald, or see the Cars, from Cars the movie, or see the Dalmatians or whatever. It's all there for you. Yeah.
Exactly. The other thing that they have is Movie Under the Stars, and who doesn't love that? And, what other resorts outside can you really appreciate that? They have really great scenic jogging trails at these resorts as well. So that's really a nice perk.
If you like to do a little exercise while you're on your vacation, yeah.
And if Disney does decide to do the Fast Pass program like they did before COVID, you would have that opportunity to book your fast passes earlier, staying at an on-property resort. And lastly, as you've already mentioned, staying on property, you get to stay in that Disney bubble. So you're not seeing, outside traffic or stores or anything like that. Really, you're just in the moment with Disney on vacation.
Yeah, it's kind of a weighing what's important to you, or and maybe without there being fast passes right now, obviously you're not getting that perk at this moment, but in the future, assuming it does come back, eventually will be very helpful to you to be able to secure those things at 60 days out.
Exactly. So, for this episode, really focused on information of what is the current status of things. Now, each of these resorts in the past have had availability of other recreational things and amenities. So, but just in case somebody is looking to plan in the near future, what we're providing you today is what is available today. So I don't want people to think this is all these resorts offer. It's just right now. That's what it is.
Right. It's a little different time right now.
Right. The things that they don't have are what you wouldn't have available at even the moderate or the luxury resorts.
Yeah. Let's say everything is throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. Everything is somewhat limited. There's nothing that is up to what you would have seen back in February of this year, or hopefully we'll see in the next several months of the coming year of 2021.
So let's start with Pop Century. This has really large displays of iconic items and themes from the decades of the 50s through the 90s. So it's a really fun, vivid look at some of the things that were iconic then. So there's like a giant Mickey phone, some Mickey holding. And I've had that phone as a kid. There's a giant Roger Rabbit. There's a themed area, boogie dancing, Rubik's Cube and foosball games.
Yeah, the giant foosball game is cool.
Right. And that's not all of them. That's just, a
handful,
taste. Yeah. But I mean, the theming is amazing, in all of these, but that one, is really, really super cool. So, now, in terms of locations, because again, these resorts are generally pretty widespread. But if you do get a chance, like one of the things you can always do when you're making reservations is you can put in a request for an area of the resort. Now, you're not guaranteed it. They cannot guarantee you that. But generally speaking, they do their best to try to give you that. And just in this particular resort, the 60s area might be what you're looking for, because it is the closest one to the front entry where the food court and the shops are, but it's also the closest to the area where the Skyliner boards. So,
which is, by the way, a benefit of either both Pop Century and Art of Animation is that they, not only do they have the bus service, they also have the Skyliner service to get you to Epcot and the Hollywood Studios.
Right, which for a value resort is pretty amazing. I mean, because that's one of the things with the value resorts that you see, generally speaking, see less transportation options. Right. So that is pretty cool.
But those two also tend to be a little bit more expensive. Like the All-Star Resorts, you'll find a little bit less.
Right.
These are kind of value resort plus, I think is what they call them, because you get that extra those extra benefits of transportation. So they may cost a little bit more than if you're to try and stay at, say, All-Star Sports.
Right, exactly. So now if you're staying there and you have your own car and you want to have the freedom to come and go when you want, then obviously having that area might not, going by that area might not be as important to you. You might want to have something that's a little further away, a little more scenic, maybe a little more quiet, because again, this would probably be one of the areas that would have more foot traffic that you might hear. Plus they have their main pool in that area as well. So speaking of pool, if you are relaxing at that the hippy dippy pool is what they call it, you might want to get your flower power on and have some libations at Petals Pool Bar. So all these resorts do have a little pool bar, which is nice to be able to have that available to you as well. So
I mean, it's a full resort stay. You know, may not cost as much as staying at the moderates, or definitely not as much as the deluxe, but doesn't mean you're not getting the benefit of a full resort stay. Yeah.
Right. So they with the renovations that they also went through, we experienced it, like you mentioned, in the All-Star resorts, is having one of the beds be a Murphy bed and having the table set up. And so then when you want it as a bed, you no longer have the table, but you have that. And then when it's up, you have a lot more space in the room.
Yeah, we experienced that at All-Star Movies, and that was a really nice use of space there to be able to have that place where you can sit and have a little snack or have a meal, have breakfast, whatever.
Right.
But, and then when it's time for the little ones to go to bed or whatever, you can pull down that extra bed for them. Yeah.
I mean, the other nice thing, too, that Disney did with these renovations is the value resorts, for the most part, had double beds. And they've replaced those with queen. So a lot more comfort to have that bed option as well.
Now, these rooms aren't large. They are some of the smallest rooms you're going to find at the Disney resort. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to book these things. Know that going in. If you're a family of 5 and you're trying to squeeze in one of these, keep that in mind, that they will be a little bit smaller. Although they do have some other options that are a little bit larger for you, but at of course a higher fee.
Right. So yeah, generally speaking, these are good for a family of 4. You might be able
if you have a really little one, maybe 5, but really
right.
4 is probably where you want to max out at.
Right.
And even then, you probably want your little ones to be a relatively little with a family of 4.
Well, like if you have, like a toddler or newborn that you're going to have in, maybe, like a playpen type style, to sleep in, maybe you could do that.
Yeah.
As a
very
5th.
True.
So
very true.
So Pop Century is on Hourglass Lake, and right across Hourglass Lake is Art of Animation, and that is also considered a value resort. But as you mentioned, maybe consider it a value plus. I mean, I think some of the things that you could describe as that you would expect in a value resort is just in terms of the entryway. So it has, where you're coming in from a hallway to go in. You're not entering into the building and then taking an elevator somewhere or something. So it's kind of that motel look to it in regards. Yeah. But Art of Animation, as the name implies, does really pay homage to the movies, the animated movies, some of the real classics of Disney. And again, the theming is so amazing, and in this particular resort, especially in the rooms. I mean, the rooms are by far the most vivid, Disney bold rooms that you will see on property anywhere, because I mean, even the furniture really is styled with the theme of that animated classic. So but a fun fact is this is where you will find the largest resort pool in all of Walt Disney World. So, and that really says a lot, because they have some really amazingly large pools. Yeah. So Pixar Finding Nemo is what provided the inspiration for the Big Blue pool.
Love it.
Right. Now, one thing to know, if you are planning a trip for early 2021, that pool is going to be going through refurbishment from January 11th through April sometime in 2021. So although that pool wouldn't be available, their other pools will be open.
Right.
But
not the only pool they have. Yeah.
Right. And as you've already mentioned, it does provide the Skyliner as transportation to Epcot and Disney Hollywood Studios as well. So that's there. Now, this resort, compared to the other value resorts, has some larger rooms, and they're called suites. And so, in fact, I would say most of the rooms are considered suites. You do have what's called a standard room, and those are the Little Mermaid rooms. And those are darling. I mean, they have the chairs that go with the table where you can eat. They look like scallop shells.
Nice.
I mean, and then bedposts and everything has imagery of Little Mermaid. I mean, like I said, you need to go online and look at some of these pictures, and hopefully you'll get to include
there'll be some in the YouTube video.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, they are. The word vivid just doesn't, I don't think, capture it, but it just really is. Again, it's a very much, hey, we want you to know you're in a Little Mermaid room. Right. There's no question about it.
It's very enticing to me.
It's not subtle. I know. So the other rooms that they have that are called family suites, they have Cars, Lion King, Finding Nemo. Now, each of these suites have the same kind of layout and what they include. So all of their value resorts do have a mini fridge. In the suites, they also have a microwave, coffee maker, and what they call a kitchenette. Mm-hmm. If you've ever been to the Vacation Club Studios, it's sort of like similar to that. You don't get the toaster though. So to me, the best way I can describe it is like a wet bar.
Right.
So you have a little sink there where you have, the counter space and the
little benefit of the microwave, so you can do a little bit of some sort of heating and cooking if need be. Yeah.
Right. The other thing about these suites, though, is they do have 2 separate bathrooms, which is really convenient for families. And it has a separate bedroom that they consider the master bedroom, and then a separate sitting area. And again, the theming in this, like the Cars separate seating area, the couch that they have looks like the back seat of a classic car. Nice. It looks like it's upholstered and everything. It's adorable. They really did up the game in theming these rooms. You see the theming in other resorts, mainly with artwork, color schemes, but this actually has real props to it. In the Cars one, the lamps are cones, like cozy cones. I mean, and that's just not the only thing that they have. And I mean, they really put a lot of detail in how they themed these rooms. Now, this resort also is dog friendly. So if you are traveling with your dog, you have that ability to reserve the room to have your up to 2 dogs is what they allow. So that's kind of a nice perk as well that they include. So now the one thing to keep in mind, as you've already said, value plus, the suites are not necessarily cheap. So they're not going. The price range there is not going to be comparable. And frankly, I don't really find it comparable to the moderate resorts, but you do get a lot more room. So, you have that additional space. You might want to use it to have the conveniences of maybe having your breakfast there, and just having more comfort. Right now, with the parks closing earlier, that could be a real plus, you know, that you could have that area to be able to really, spread out and relax in the early evening, get some snacks to bring to the room, or, some other food and, libations. They actually have, they sell, for breakfast supplies, they do sell some things like you can get a half gallon of milk or soy milk. You can buy cereal there, but you might, if you're traveling locally, you might want to just bring some of your own cereal. But you also, at the stores, they do sell beer and wines. They sell 6-packs or, the larger bottles of beer and wine. And they're really decent prices. They're not discount prices, but they're not what you would normally pay.
They're not resort prices.
Right. They're not resort prices for those wines. So, in beer. So it's something that you could have, again, ways to save some money and have some comfort and be there at Disney.
Yeah. Like you said, especially right now when the park's not open as much, you're probably going to be spending more time in your room than you would normally on a vacation.
Right.
And one of these things about the value resorts is if you're the type of family that likes to go So from rope drop to fireworks, maybe your room isn't as important to you, so you can kind of maybe cut back. And it was something I was going to talk about a little bit in my tip, but I'll go ahead and get to it a little bit here. Is that because of that fact, you may want to look. I don't need to spend a lot on this great big room, on this great fancy resort. I can go more bare bones because we're just basically going in there to sleep.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. And get ready in the morning, and that's it. But what, like you mentioned, with the parks being not open quite as long as they normally are, you are inevitably probably spending more time in your room. Maybe you spend a little more on either a nicer resort, a nicer room, or one of these, suites, which you're getting a suite. Yes. Are they the same price as, a moderate resort regular room, or a little bit more than that? Probably so, but not nearly as much as trying to get a suite at one of these other resorts around, but you do get that extra space. So.
And it's not as expensive as getting 2 rooms, and these suites do sleep up to 6 adults.
Yeah. So, it's all about weighing what is most important to you. And again, I'm going to get a little bit more into that in my tip later on in the show.
Right. So, okay, so then let's move on to the other one that is open, which is the All-Star Movies. And as you mentioned, it wasn't that long ago that we got to stay there. We were very fortunate when we asked for a room that had gone through refurbishment. They willingly did that for us instantly. Again, the cast members at Walt Disney World, our Disney company, are great.
Yeah, I mean, we actually I put in a request. We didn't end up getting the rooms that we wanted at first, even though we put out the request. So we just went up to the desk and asked and see if is there anything they could do. No guarantees on that.
Right.
But the guy who helped us out, gave us this excellent room, exactly what we wanted, because we really wanted to check out the new refurbished rooms there. And we were really happy. And, thank you again. Cast members are awesome. We love all the Disney cast members so much.
Right. And always remember to tweet out a hashtag cast compliments.
Yeah.
So now, like the art of animation, the exterior in Pop Century, the exterior displays are really big, really bold and colorful. This resort gives nod to movies like Fantasia, Love Bug, 101 Dalmatians, Mighty Ducks, Toy Story. I mean, it's so eclectic.
Right.
But again, really fun. The courtyard areas of each of these themed areas are adorable. Great place for picture taking, and especially
I think
if you
all
have
these
kids.
places actually are really great for picture taking. Yeah.
That is true. So these rooms are really bare bone basic, but they do have conveniences, like we've mentioned, since the refurbishment. And, it does provide, again, having that Murphy bed provides so much more space, in that room when you're not sleeping. It's just really, even just when we went as adults, I felt like, oh, thank God we have extra space to walk around. And
it makes it feel like a different room when it's not just, you're not just walking in and then there's 2 beds and a chair and a little table or something.
Right.
That's it. That's all you got. It makes you feel like you have this full room, just 1 bed. The second bed's there, but you don't see it until you actually need it.
Right, exactly. So, and the other all-star resorts very much are the same kind of a layout, just different theming. Related to it. Now, the transportation for this resort is bus. So you take a bus to whichever park you're intending to visit that day. It is not in close proximity to the Skyliner.
Right. And the difference also with the buses here as opposed to at Pop Century or at Art of Animation is those all have their own buses. They just go to Pop. They just go to Art of Animation. Here, all the All-Star resorts share the same bus. So, a bus will hit All-Star Sports, it'll hit All-Star Music, and it'll hit All-Star Movies and then come back. So it's just something to keep in mind there.
Right. I mean, and right now, this is the only one open, so that's
right
the
now
silver
fine.
lining
that's
for
true.
this.
That's true. It's a good point. Right now, until February at least, that's the only one you have to work with.
No, that's the only one that.
Even in February.
Right, because it's opening in February.
Right. So thank goodness Michelle's here for that research, because I would steer you completely wrong. So that's good. Yeah. So it's like the other ones, at least for right now. But if in the future when they get going again, and they're all 3 are open, just know that they all share a bus. So if you're coming from Magic Kingdom for example, or going to Magic Kingdom, it will make stops at all those resorts along the way.
Right, exactly. So what was your impression of staying there? Because it wasn't really that long ago.
I loved it. I would stay there again. I think we mentioned it at the time. I mean, we're Disney Vacation Club members, so we don't stay a lot of different places where we're paying out of pocket. Right. We're paying out of pocket for Disney Vacation Club. Believe me, a lot out. Matter of fact, it's a lot out of bank. But if for whatever reason we didn't want to use points and we were just looking like that was just like a one night stay or whatever, so we'd like, look, what can we do? I would totally do it again for a night or 2 nights or whatever if there's wasn't a great resort for us to use our points or we were wanting to save our points for whatever reason. I would be happy to stay there. I thought it was well laid out. The rooms were comfortable. I liked what they did with them with the refurbishment. I think the food court is really cool thing because the food courts, are you going to get into the food courts at all?
Just very briefly. So go ahead.
Okay. The food courts here are like, think of like if you're going to a mall. Food court in that, you have different options to go to. There may be like 4 different possible styles of food. Maybe one's burgers, one's Italian food, whatever. And then they also have a grab and go area where you can just kind of grab quick sandwiches or salads or, drinks or whatever. But it's really helpful and functional for, a family that needs to get maybe all eat different types of food, maybe you're, looking for something late night snack. We hit up a late night snack there the night we came back after spending some time with our great friends. We had a couple drinks, went out and hang out with them, with Rob and Kim LeBerry from the Giant Temple Archives podcast. We came back, we're like, we're still hungry. So we headed down to the food court and got a little snack to bring with us. Also, they have pizza delivery to the room. It comes from the food court.
Right, which currently is not available.
Right. Again, this is not everything is normal right now. So be sure to check with your resorts for if the food court is even open as well, So be sure and check on those things. But I found it very functional and easy to use when you needed an easy meal. Yeah, you got to walk a little bit to get to it, but it was very easy.
Right. And again, you could, if you're interested in, saving walking steps from time to time or whatever, or you have somebody who, might have challenges with, walking great distances or whatever, then, let the resort know if you have some of those issues and challenges, and, they will do their best to help accommodate as best they can. All of the rooms at these resorts, interestingly, too, have all the handicap features as well if you're in need of that. So they do have, wheelchair accessible rooms. They have hearing accessible rooms that uses flashing alarms kind of things. And they have some that are for both wheelchair and hearing accommodations for those. Yeah. So if you have any of those needs as well, make sure you handle that when you're booking the rooms.
Always talk to your cast members that check you in and let them know any needs you might have, and they will do their best to try and make sure that you are accommodated as best as possible. Right.
And going back to your discussion about the food court again, I'm repeating a little bit about how this is child friendly, but just how very colorful, how very bright everything is.
And themed.
It makes kids...
To the resort.
Right. It makes kids feel comfortable to be there. It doesn't seem stuffy. It doesn't seem... it really, to me, attracts with what the kids what kids would be comfortable with. So
yeah, and they do have like Disney cartoons playing on like a television in there and everything. Like you'll find in many of the resorts, but also within this food court as well.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and so the last one that we wanted to bring up today is the campsites at the Fort Wilderness campgrounds, and so those can accommodate. You can have sites that are either for tents or for RVs and campers. So they do have differences it's in terms of how long they are. But they all provide a lot of the same services. Their preferred sites relate to their close proximity to more convenient locations, like some of the like the marina or the shops and things like that.
Transportation,
right,
etc.
right. Yeah. So if you're interested in camping, whether you're going through tent or a camper, then you just look to see what type of setting in terms of size that you're interested in. I've been fortunate to do both tent camping as well as camper tent camping there, and it is amazing. It is amazing there. First of all, again, you're still in the bubble, but they do have a lot of lush greenery around between each campsite. I mean, it's not like full on, but it's enough to, that you feel like you have some sense of a little bit of privacy there. And not to mention that it's just beautiful nature, And so, of campgrounds, this is like numero uno. For me, at least.
Because you camp a lot.
Yeah, actually, I haven't, but...
Not in a while. Right. Me neither.
But each campsite does have water, cable and electric hookups, a picnic table, and a charcoal grill. The cast will clean grills for you. Most campsites also include a sewer hookup. So that's a nice convenience to have as well.
For your RV or camper.
Right. And as one might expect, this is another another resort that is pet friendly, so that you would be able to have some pets with you as well. So it's really cool to have that.
By the way, during the holiday time, there's nothing like being in the Fort Wilderness campground areas during holiday time, because there's tons of people who go there, and this is like their holiday thing. They come every year and they build up their Christmas decorations that much more, and so it's just, think about like going out and driving and looking at Christmas lights through neighborhoods or whatever. Well, this is what it's like out there at these campgrounds. Everybody has all these inflatable decorations and lights and all sorts of things. And it's just, they do amazing things.
Oh yeah. It is such a community feel. And even that's including people who are tent camping there as well. They really, and if they have, either they bring or they rent the golf carts, they decorate those as well. So. And
they even outside of holiday season, sometimes you'll get periods where there are groups there, or groups that get together while they're there, and they'll do, if they all have RVs, some that they have their own RV, or not RVs, excuse me, golf carts. Right. If they have their own golf carts, they'll bring them in or they'll rent them, and they'll all get together and do like little parades. Like we've seen a parade of, like, I think it was Disney princesses or whatever, where they themed their golf carts to a particular Disney princess, and then someone would be Disney bounding or dressed up, cosplaying as a Disney princess, and then they would parade in these golf carts around the grounds, and it's just fun. You know? And it's just it's a fun thing to I wouldn't mind taking part in it, but even if you're not taking part of it, just to experience as they go by, it's just a good time.
It is good. They especially have these more available seasonally. Scott and I were there once. We were at the cabins, and they had a parade for Halloween, which was really fun. They brought music and everything. It was really adorable. And then like 4th of July holiday.
Right.
Big
totally
too.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So at your campsite, this is one of the areas that you do have complimentary parking for one motor vehicle. So, all the other resorts do charge for parking. Excuse me. This one does provide that for you, and it's right there at your campground, at your campsite. So, they also, especially if you're tent camping, they have multiple what they call comfort stations. So those have like restrooms, showers, sink.
Always important when you're camping.
Yes,
the showers are important.
Yes, and laundry facilities. Now, this one, you do have to bring your own towel and toiletries if you're going to be showering there. But and one little, I'll add it as a tip right now, even though it's not my tip for the week. You might want to bring also some of those like water sports shoes or plastic,
definitely,
sandals or flip flop kind of things if you're going to use their showers. That's just
just from a health and safety.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This resort has a few additional amenities that are recreation ideas that are open right now. So you could do archery, pony rides, or trail rides. Those are currently available. There are some things that still are on hold, but those are some additional activities that you could participate if you're staying there at the campgrounds. Well, actually, if you're staying on property anywhere.
Right. Yeah, you can, even if you're not staying at the campgrounds, or say, you can still book some of these things and come out to Fort Wilderness and take part in all of them.
Exactly. So, kind of summarizing some of the things that, in addition to what I've mentioned, are available at all the value resorts. We talked about what they call quick service, and those are available for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and usually open pretty late into the evening. I think right now I was seeing 10 o'clock. I don't know if that's just because right now we're getting close to Thanksgiving, but and another nice thing is they do offer some really interesting, and I'm not trying to say like, ooh, that's interesting, really great plant-based menu items as well, and so that's a nice option that they provide. Now I will say these quick service are not as inexpensive as, say, McDonald's, but as you've described, you're getting a better quality of food as well. So you have the ability to pay a flat fee. Right now it's $19.99 or $19.95. I'm sorry. One of those. It's
that's
just
4
under
cents difference.
Yeah, just under $20 for a refillable mug, and you can use that to refill at any of the quick service at any of the resorts. Now, I know resort hopping is really not like what it was, but you may be going for table service to a different resort, and you may want to have that, to get something as you're heading out or whatever. And so I guess it really just depends on how long you're staying. Obviously, if you're staying for a week or so, you're dividing that up, that same flat fee. They do have some seasonal mugs from time to time. Like right now, they do have a holiday mug, and they also have a Star Wars themed mug. That one's a bit more, but anyways, pretty cool. So that's something that you can consider that they have at these value resorts that you don't see otherwise. They also, for Thanksgiving Day, have your traditional Thanksgiving feast with roast turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, cornbread stuffing, green beans, cranberry sauce, and a dinner roll.
Wow.
At the Value Resorts quick service areas.
Very good.
Yeah.
I'm getting hungry. That sounds really good. I'm really hungry. Why are we always hungry when we do these shows?
I know.
We should really eat before we do
exactly.
these shows.
And drink. I digress.
By the way, just another note, and again, it's not open right now, but one of the benefits if you're staying, as opposed to the other value resorts, if you're staying at the campgrounds, I mean, not that you can't visit there anyway if you're staying anywhere, but if you're staying at the campgrounds, that is the one place of these value resorts that does actually have a table service. Well, it's a buffet, but it's a table service restaurant within it with the trails and restaurant there at Fort Wilderness, which you can go to. Not open right now, not currently. They still have P&J Southern Takeout open, which you can use there to get food. But when we get back to normal times, that restaurant's there for you to enjoy while you're at the resort.
That's true. Good point. So other conveniences that you can pick up at these value resorts, and some of them kind of surprised me, this first one did, is you can purchase a Mickey celebration cake. They have a vanilla and a chocolate version, and they're really nice because they have like the chocolate one has like chocolate ganache on it and everything. And so, you can make a special trip really special by having one of those celebratory cakes, and not just for kids, adults too.
I like cake a lot.
Right?
You can't tell. Quarantine 15 here. I like cake a lot. Yeah.
And as I mentioned already, they do have some conveniences at their shop there for getting some like milk or some other fruits or snack products as well that you could have available if you really want to. Again, though they may not be super inexpensive, although like I said, the milk, the beer, the wine, those were all reasonably priced.
Right, they're products. More expensive than you'll find at most of your grocery stores, but not like crazy expensive. It's not as much as like actually going to a convenience store and buying milk. I think it's less expensive than going to, say, a 7-Eleven or a Quickie Mart or whatever.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Cool.
And they all have
Quickie Mart dropping.
Instacart for Quickie Mart.
Yeah.
They also have they all each have 24-hour laundry service stations available to you as well. So that could be a real, especially if you're going to be there for a longer time or that you want to pack lighter, you can have that available to you. And, I could use it as a tip today too, but I'll just say it here. A free tip is that they have really great apps that you can monitor what your laundry service is at what point in it. So you can, in advance of going out there, you can see if there's any available, washers or dryers. And you can also set it up that it will alert you when your load is completed, that you can go back to it. So real nice convenience.
Definitely.
So,
if you're someone who likes to do laundry when you're on vacation.
Right. So, and the final thing is that we touched on before is, taking a moment if you're going to get a reservation here is go on to the Disney, site. You can get a view of how the layout is and where things are in proximity to other areas and decide if something is going to be, more important to you in terms of placement of where your room is. Generally speaking, their preferred rooms are ones that are closer to more of the hub of activities that are going on. But, it's something that you can look at and decide if that's important to you. We didn't do that and we were fine. But I know, again, if we were with kids or like if I was with my mom, I probably would have requested a preferred site. You pay a little bit more, not a lot. And in terms of issues of views, most of these resorts don't have much for windows, so it may not be something that's as critical for you to consider.
Yeah, it's if you're looking for where you want your room, it's more about the theming of the area that you're in, the availability of getting to transportation, getting to the food court, getting to the pool, whatever you prefer. Or if you would prefer a more quiet space, a little bit farther away from that, if you don't mind walking a little more. So just things to consider when you're looking at this map and, making a room request.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's about it that I have. I guess bottom line is that we've said it already at the beginning. We've stayed there at some of these resorts. We would stay again. I actually, would like to we haven't done Art of Animation yet. And, that's one that I haven't done that I would definitely like to consider doing. Again, as you mentioned, the challenge is we already have Vacation Club. So
and we have so many points right now that are going unused because we haven't been at a Disney vacation in gosh, it's 10 months since it's almost a year since we actually had a Disney vacation where we've spent Vacation Club points.
Right.
But it's been almost 10 months since we've been to any Disney vacation. So, we may be itching a little bit to get back to Disney, but we have a lot of points to use up. So I don't expect we'll be staying in any of these very soon, but in the future, we're not against it by any stretch of the imagination.
Exactly. So give them a try.
Definitely agree. Michelle's research, facts, always the best. I like all of them. I mean, we haven't stayed at Art of Animation or Pop yet, but we've stayed at a couple of the all-star resorts. And yes, I mean, some of the transportation difficulties, it may take a little longer for you to get anywhere or get back from anywhere. Sure. But I find them to be fun. I find them to be extremely convenient in other regards. And again, if you're doing a lot of park time, why not save a little bit and go to some of these, lesser resorts and use your money in other ways. And I'll discuss a little bit more about that in my tip.
Awesome.
And we'd love to know what you think of the value resorts. Is there a favorite one you like to stay at? And do you have a tip that you might want to share with some of our listeners? Please hit us up and we will share them on an upcoming show. thank you again, Michelle. She always does the best job of researching these topics, looking into them, and exploring ways that you can benefit from staying at some of these resorts or going to some of these lounges or whatever it is. Thank you, Michelle.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It was fun.
Yeah, well, it was fun for me to just listen to you and to look at you because you're awesome and I love you.
So, you're sweet. Likewise, babe.
So let's just get right to our Disney stories of the week. Not a lot for you this week, but I do have a couple of quick stories for you. I'm going to start with, we have a lot of details about your next chance to formally sing along with Disney. I mean, I sing along with Disney pretty much every day. But this is
so true. So true.
This is formally, they're setting this up. Anyways, that also includes some of their hit Broadway show casts singing a song that, well, I'll be belting out with them.
Okay. Do tell.
So this is from playbill.com of all places, by the way. That's the news about the Broadway performers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Broadway casts of The Lion King and Aladdin, as well as the North American touring company of Frozen, who we were actually supposed to see here back in, I think it was April or late March, but circumstances that they are. Anyway, they'll be joining forces for the upcoming ABC special, the Disney Holiday Sing-Along. Yeah. So the Disney cast members will reunite at Broadway's New Amsterdam Theater, home of Disney's Aladdin.
Ooh,
which has remained dark since the coronavirus shutdown, of course.
Mm-hmm.
We can't wait for all the shows to get back going again, Broadway to reopen up. Anyway, they're going to all get together and sing from Frozen, Let It Go, Let It Go.
I know you'll be happy about that, because one of the things, if you do go and when they return having the show on Broadway or and even off Broadway locations, is that's one of the instructions they tell you at the beginning is don't sing along during the play.
Right.
So this will let it get it out of your system.
Exactly. Although it won't really get out of my
know,
system,
I
but
know.
I'll do the best I can. Anyway, going back to the special itself, it's hosted by Ryan Seacrest and will be broadcast on November 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I assume it's also going to be 8 p.m. Pacific, but
Right.
I don't know for sure. And usually when these sing-alongs have been on ABC throughout this summer, they've usually shown up on Disney Plus like the next day or
Sure.
within a couple days afterwards. So if you don't catch it that night, it will be on Disney Plus soon afterwards. Now, we also know at least a good portion of what the lineup will be and what they'll be performing as we go through this. And there are some really cool acts and some that I know Michelle's going to be excited about here, as well as myself. Yes. So let's get to what they've listed so far. So here's what the lineup is. And we don't know the order of these. This is just how they're listed in from playbill.com. So we'll start off with one that I know Michelle's going to be excited about, and I am too, because this performer is amazing. It's going to be Andrea Bocelli singing Silent Night. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Of all
I
people.
get goosebumps
Yeah,
just
me
thinking
too.
about it.
So as soon as I saw that, I'm
his
like,
voice
wow.
is butter.
It is.
Butter.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about that. I knew as soon as I saw that, you'd be excited about that. Moving on, the K-pop group BTS will be singing Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Yes.
Love my K-pop.
Yeah. Michael Bublé is going to be singing It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas.
Oh, our son will love that one.
Yes, for sure. Sierra will be singing Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree.
Nice.
Yeah. Chloe and Hallie will be doing Do You Want to Build a Snowman?
That's
like
cool.
that one, yep. Derek Huff and Haley Erbert will be doing Hey Santa and Jingle Bells. If you've seen them from the sing-alongs from earlier this summer, they do a lot of huge dance numbers along with them. So I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun. Julianne Hough will be doing Whistle While You Work and Let It Snow. Ooh. Yeah. Adam Lambert's going to be showing up to sing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Awesome.
I imagine from him that it would be more of a rock and edge. He's kind of a rocker. He's performed with Queen a lot. So it might be kind of cool. Here's another one that I know Michelle's going to love and I'm going to love as well. Leslie Odom Jr.
Never heard of him.
If it isn't Aaron Burr, sir. He is going to be singing, now get this is even better for Michelle. What's this?
Oh my God.
What's this? They have a little
Love
tree.
it.
Yeah, isn't that great? Katy Perry will be doing I'll Be Home for Christmas and Cozy Little Christmas. Pink is going to be on the show singing the Christmas song, also known as Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. Yeah. And Kerry Washington will be singing Joy to the World. So, and we don't know if that's the entirety of the lineup, but still, all those.
Pretty great.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be phenomenal. We love Christmas music around here. Our son plays Christmas music in June, April. It doesn't really matter. So this is going to be a must watch for us, and we're very excited about it.
Yes, it sounds amazing. They really upped their game, I think, on this one. So that's cool.
Which one of those, if you could just name one, which one of those are you most excited about?
That's tough. I guess if I can only pick one, I would say Leslie.
Yeah. That's good. I think for me, it's Andrea Bocelli.
I know it's a tough one between those.
Between those two, that would be my toss-up as well. So since you picked one, I'll pick the other one. But they're both great. But all these performers, I'm excited about all of them. I think they're going to be all fantastic, and I'm very excited to belt out a lot of these songs right along with them at home. So it'll be very cool. By the way, the special also raises awareness about Disney's Feed the Love campaign benefiting Feeding America, Toys for Tots, and One Simple Wish. So you're bound to hear some of that there. Di Capella is also going to be doing some stuff in between some of these songs as well. So just, so that's really cool. I'm very excited. I can't wait for that to pop up on ABC on November 30th, and then probably very soon afterwards on Disney Plus, and it might be something that we can revisit throughout the holidays as well.
Sure.
So moving on to something else, Disney Plus, a completely different realm. We now know when we'll be able to journey back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe on Disney Plus. Yeah, this from Marvel.com. Get your television screens ready. WandaVision, the highly anticipated Marvel Studios original series, will premiere on January 15th of 2021. We thought they might debut it this year because when they teased it kind of from, like a Disney Plus thing, that it sounded like it was going to be before the end of this year. Looks like they're pushing it just a little bit out into 2021, but really exciting because that's going to be soon after we return from our trip to Walt Disney World. So we can get to come back, and then WandaVision will be on our
Can't
screen.
Wait.
Yeah.
And it looks just things that you've seen, like whether it be trailers or pictures, it just looks great.
It looks great. I'm very excited about it. I love both of those characters. So going on, they talk a little bit about the show here. The captivating new series WandaVision starring Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany marks the first series from Marvel Studios streaming exclusively on Disney Plus. This series is a blend of classic television and the Marvel Cinematic Universe in which Wanda Maximoff and Vision, two super-powered beings living idealized suburban lives, begin to suspect that everything is not as it seems. I'd say so. Joining Olsen and Bettany are Kat Dennings, who reprises her role as Darcy Lewis from the Marvel Studios Thor and Thor the Dark World. Randall Park, who reprises his role as Agent Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp, who was one of the best parts of Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, actually.
Awesome.
And newcomers Catherine Hahn, who plays their plucky neighbor, and I hope I'm going to pronounce her name right, Tiona Paris, who plays the adult Monica Rambeau, who was first introduced in Captain Marvel. So that's cool that all those characters are going to be involved in this. The series is directed by Matt Shackman, and it's going to take place after the events of Avengers Endgame. Now, the question here is, and I guess this is a spoiler for pretty much Avengers Infinity War, but also Endgame, is that Vision, as far as I know, didn't make it.
Yeah.
So why is he in this if this is taking place after Avengers Endgame? What's in play here? Is this something going on in Wanda's mind?
Oh, interesting.
I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. It looks great. It looks like there's so many classic television tropes that are going to be revisited within this. I'm so excited for it. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, from when we first heard about this was something that I was very excited about. Love those characters, those actors, and the idea of bringing them together I thought was spot on perfect.
Yeah. So looking forward to that when that debuts on January 15th of 2021. So that's it for the Disney Stories of the Week. However, we never leave you without giving you some sort of tip that might help you on your next vacation, whether it be to the Walt Disney World Resort, Disney Cruise Line, someday Disneyland, wherever you're going. And we always start with Michelle, one, because she does the best research. She does the best everything. Look,
Ah.
she does the best everything. Look, and look at her. She's beautiful. So, and of course, she has the very best tip. So let's get right to it. Here is Michelle's tip of the week.
Wow. Well, thank you. Big build up there. So my tip actually is kind of small, but it could make for a very fun trip. And it's also a kind of some good news is that the Disney Floral and Gift Department has returned. It's a little bit more modest than what they used to be able to offer before, but that's okay. You can have something delivered to your room and make for a nice celebration. Now, as I mentioned, they don't have it as expanded as what they used to have it, but it's just really exciting to know that you could go to that site and arrange for something, whether it be a floral arrangement or a basket, and be able to have either a surprise for somebody to make it more special, or just to, hey, go by yourself, celebrate yourself, and buy a nice thing to have in your room. It's awesome, and it's such a special treat.
Yeah, just a nice way to enhance your trip or somebody else's trip in various different ways.
Right.
Very cool.
So you can link to them on their website, or you can just do a search for Disney Floral and Gifts and find them. But it's exciting that they have that service resumed to be able to partake in that.
Very cool. Very cool. Michelle's tips.
Thank you.
Always the best tips. Speaking of that, by the way, one of her very best tip, arguably her very best tip, I wanted to expand on that. And actually, our great friend Rob LeBerry expanded on this. He wanted to say, Michelle's tip, which is the very best tip that she has, which is look up. He said, well, also you need to expand on that tip a little more, because he just came back from a trip to Walt Disney World. And he wanted to say, when you tell people to look up, make sure it's not just from their phones to looking where they're going. Make sure it's look up twice to see everything,
Right.
because pretty much everybody is just looking at their phone. So
Right.
look up and then look up again.
Good point, Rob. Awesome.
Anyway, Michelle's tip's the best tip, and Rob, thank you for that.
Yes.
Extra bonus on top of her tip.
Yes.
As for my tip this week, I'm just going to talk about, and I mentioned a little bit of it as we were talking about the Disney Value Resorts. Mm-hmm. Look, when you're planning your vacation, one of the things you should do is you're setting things up and deciding where you want to stay, what you want to do, is prioritize and budget accordingly. As we know right now, maybe you are going to be spending a little more time in your resort. Right. So maybe you want to spend a little more money on that room because you're going to spend more time in there. However, when things are much more normal and maybe you're a person or a family who likes to go from rope drop to fireworks, right, and you're spending a little less time within your room, then, feel free to cut that out a little bit, stay at one of the Disney's value resorts, right, or stay off property. There's some great locations off property that you can stay at as well. Save that money and put it into different things. So, if food is important to you, take that money you saved and put it to, going at some of these great restaurants around.
Right.
If food isn't important to you, then you can save that money and put it towards something completely different, whether it be a tour or a Disney, a dessert package or whatever, when we get nighttime spectaculars going to. Find out what's important to you and put that money where you want it to go. And then it just makes your trip that much better for you. Also, remember, there's another way to save some money. If you're staying on a Disney resort, and Michelle mentioned this a little bit, you have that transportation free there for you from the airport back to the airport to all the different parks as well. And you can and Disney Springs for that matter, you can take advantage of that and not to spend anything extra. However, if you are someone who wants to get there quickly, don't mind paying a little more, you can rent a car. Just note that when you're renting a car, you are going to, if you're staying on a Disney resort property, you are paying for parking. So add that into your budget as well. And by the way, it's different depending on where you're staying at which resort you're staying at. If you're staying at a value resort, it's a $15 per day charge. Per night, thank you. Charge. If it's a moderate resort, it's $20. If it's a deluxe resort, it's $25. So make sure you add that into your equation, because you just want to have this budgeted down as best you can. We will almost always go over budget when you're going to a Disney resort, but if you can kind of have a general idea of it, it'll just make your resort and the sticker shock at the end that much
Right.
easier on you.
Yeah, and you can use your resources to find the cost of items. You know, you can use the app and look at menus and the cost for each for the food items. When you talk about parking, one of the things to remember is if you are parking at your resort and you're paying that daily fee or nightly fee, then that's all you pay.
Right.
So like Right. Yeah. You don't have to, like, if you're going to take your car then to any of the parks, you don't have to pay to park there. That is complimentary. So, or if you're going to another resort and you're going to have, one of the table service meals, you don't have to pay for parking there as well. So it is the one-time fee that you pay.
And also remember, if you're a DVC member and you were staying at a DVC resort on DVC points, you're not paying for parking as well.
Exactly.
So take that into the equation as well. So that's it for this week. Next week, well, believe it or not, we're quickly closing in on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be the week after that episode. So, it's been a very strange year, a very weird year, but that doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of things that we're thankful for, and especially in Disney. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about the things with Disney that we are the most thankful for, and we'd love to know those things that you are most thankful for that are Disney related as well.
Right. I mean, even though these are tough times, there are silver linings all around.
For sure. And so we'll go through all of that next week. And as for today, we appreciate that you joined us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
you'll have the opportunity to sign up for our newsletter.
Yeah, it should just pop up on our website. It'll pop up there. There's also usually a place to sign up for it on the bottom of the page. But either way, we'd love it if you sign up for the newsletter and just kind of be that much more in the Hyperion Adventures know. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We are on YouTube. A lot of the stuff Michelle described about these Disney Value Resorts, we're going to try and have a lot of pictures of that up for you on our YouTube. And if you want to find us there, just do a search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast and hit subscribe, and then you'll know whenever we have a new video. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. We love hearing from you. And thanks for those of you who responded this week to our email.
Yes. And don't forget about our Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame. We want to know those 5 favorite Disney live action characters so we can get them all nominated and ready for our final ballot coming up at the end of the year. Yes, very exciting. So, by the way, and we will have, and I mentioned this before, for people who vote on that ballot and who give us a review too, you'll get a second chance to win. We will have a prize package for you. I think I've called it a prize basket a couple times, or a gift basket a couple of times. There probably isn't going to be a basket, so it's a package, okay? But still, you'll have that chance to win that when you vote on our final ballot.
Right.
So, and we'll discuss more about that as we move on. But that's it for this week. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.
Bye.